Watson, a magician.
Oh, how did he pull that off?
He does it again. Houdini.
Every day is a day for him. He's a magician, bro.
A magician never reveals his tricks.
Two of the NFL's top young quarterbacks will face off this weekend when Deshaun Watson's Texans visit Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. Both teams are leading their respective divisions, but all eyes will be on the two signal callers. Here was Watson talking about the matchup with Mahomes.
He's a winner. He's a ball player, leader. Make a lot of great plays outside the pocket, a lot of plays inside the pocket. And he's like I said, the biggest thing, he's a winner. He's a strong arm, elusive. Make a lot of plays with his legs. Make great decisions, and he's very accurate.
Sounds like you.
Very similar.
Let's welcome in former NFL defensive back Domonique Foxworth. What's up, Domonique?
What's happening, Ross? Thanks for having me.
You know this is not a fun Friday. It's a whole Thursday, and you don't have a tie on?
Oh, yeah.
You know Stephen A's going to get you.
I don't need a tie. It distracts from my natural beauty.
We going to talk about that. We're going to talk about that another time. We'll talk about that another time.
All right, Stephen A., starting with you. Which quarterback is more important to his team's success, Watson or Mahomes?
Well, I think right now it would be Watson. And the reason why I say Watson is because I believe more in the Kansas City Chiefs in terms of the collection of talent that they have available to them than with the Houston. I know DeAndre Hopkins is big time. He's not even their leading receiver. Will Fuller is no scrub, and we get all of that. Kenny Stills is there right now as well. And I do like the acquisitions of Duke Johnson in that backfield along with Carlos Hyde. They've been running the football effectively. But coming into this season, we didn't look at Houston's roster and see all of that. We didn't see that these guys would have the ability to do what they've been doing to this degree. And I think a lot of it has been revealed because of the greatness of Deshaun Watson. This brother is something special, man. We saw him at Clemson in back-to-back national title game appearances and a national championship against Alabama, in which he threw for over 800 yards in the two national championship games that he went against them. We get that. But we also got to look at what he's been doing in the NFL. We got to look at the questions that we've had about Bill O'Brien, the collection of talent that he's put around Deshaun Watson. I'm talking about questions coming into the season. Again, I've been very impressed with what I've seen from those guys. But when we look at the Kansas City Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes, knowing the stud that he is, even though Tyreek Hill went down in game one, when you look at Damian Williams, when you look at a guy like Shady McCoy, when you look at the Sammy Watkins, when you look at the best tight end in football, Travis Kelce, and others, you do look at the Kansas City Chiefs coached by Andy Reid and do feel like Patrick Mahomes has more of a support base to facilitate his success than does Deshaun Watson in Houston. Yet, Deshaun Watson is still completing 69% of his passes. 11 touchdowns, just one interception on the entire season in the first 5 games, throwing the football about 31 times a game. I've been thoroughly impressed with him. His value to Houston, I think, is higher because you desperately need more from him if you are Bill O'Brien's Houston Texans than you are, if you were rather, Andy Reid's Kansas City Chiefs.
No, I think the opposite, actually. I think given the Chiefs' injuries recently and what's available to Mahomes, not to mention the fact that he's nicked up, I think Mahomes has less to work with and therefore is more important. It's not just Tyreek Hill who's getting close, right? It's Sammy Watkins didn't practice. It's, so your top 2 receivers. You no longer have your best running back. Kareem Hunt is gone. You have a couple of defensive tackles out. You have your left tackle, I believe. I think it's the left tackle. Yeah, Eric Fisher, right? He's out. Like you have, so protection's not as good. Running game is not going to be there. Receiver's not there as much. And by the way, Mahomes has looked vulnerable recently. And if this was anyone else, I say Deshaun Watson, because he has the thing to me. More than maybe anyone else in football. That like extra pixie dust stuff where I just believe in this guy. unless the subject is Patrick Mahomes. If the question is football and you ask me about it and Patrick Mahomes is one of the possible answers, the answer for me will be Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, so Patrick Mahomes is better. I think he's a better player. But I agree with Stephen A. as far as who's more important because of some of the same reasons. Because you talk about Andy Reid. I have faith. And Andy Reid, it's not just faith. There is evidence that Andy Reid has been able to organize and prepare offenses around decent quarterbacks, around backup quarterbacks, and produce points. And while Patrick Mahomes is great and the things that he's done, I don't want to take any credit away from him, but Andy Reid helps a lot. So I don't have any faith. We have no evidence to point to in the history of Bill O'Brien's tenure that they were consistently good offensively until Deshaun Watson shows up. So I have faith in Andy Reid and none in Deshaun Watson. While I think Patrick Mahomes is a better player, I think you take Deshaun Watson off of this team, they fall much further, I think, than the Chiefs do without Patrick Mahomes.
Hold on. Replace Patrick Mahomes with an average quarterback on that Chiefs team. Look at the weapons available. He has a tight end. That's all he has.
Alex Smith was there, and I understand there are differences between those teams, but you added Alex Smith. I believe they were 11-5 the season prior. Alex Smith is no one's Hall of Famer. Andy Reid is a Hall of Famer, though, and that matters.
The coaching point is a good one.
You can look at Savage, who was there before Watson. You can look at all the quarterbacks that were there before Watson under Bill O'Brien's tenure, and he wasn't good. And you can look at Andy Reid, and you can say Nick Foles. You can say Michael Vick. You can say Donovan McNabb. You can say Alex Smith. You can go down a list of quarterbacks that Andy Reid has elevated their level.
Mahomes in consecutive weeks had to, pull off a miracle. And then, by the way, people don't realize even last week against the Colts, he scored. They had a chance for an onside kick. Mahomes is still working magic at the end. Now, you think off those two performances, beaten up, that Mahomes isn't extra motivated? I'm just telling you, there's no one, maybe who we've ever seen, maybe except for Aaron Rodgers in his prime, who can do what Mahomes is doing right now.
The crazy thing about Mahomes is the worst game he's had by QBR was last week, and he went for 300 yards, a touchdown, and no interceptions. His highs are higher than everyone else's, and his lows are higher than everyone else's. He is the best player in the league, but I have faith that Andy Reid can do something more than I do in Bill O'Brien with that team. And that diminished defense, that's the calling card of Houston at one point, was that great defense, and it's not the same.
A question for Dominique.
Everybody in football has been asking for Bill O'Brien to step up and prove his worth. We've also talked about disciples of Bill Belichick, and we've questioned that, which is why we're raving about Matt Patricia in Detroit at this particular moment in time, not just because he's having success, but because that success that he's having is an aberration for usual Bill Belichick disciples. Nobody's questioning anything about Andy Reid, who has not won a Super Bowl in his 20-plus years as a head coach in the National Football League. Yet, despite that, we still respect and appreciate his greatness as a head coach. Nobody questions Andy Reid. Everyone questions Bill O'Brien. We're not saying that Bill O'Brien deserves to be fired. We're not saying that he doesn't know football. We're not saying that he can't coach. But we do look at Bill O'Brien and ask a question about what is it that he's really accomplishing, because he did work on the offensive side of the ball, and before Deshaun Watson arrived, you found yourself scratching your head at the inability of Bill O'Brien to really get that offense going. But now that Deshaun Watson is there, you don't have that question now.
Yeah, and even Bill O'Brien was struggling with Deshaun Watson early last year before they got it going. Real quick, Dominique.
And a couple of games this year.
Patrick Mahomes didn't exist. The Martians abducted him, or they just outlawed Patrick Mahomes, right? He's too good. Is Deshaun Watson in the running for best quarterback in the game?
Absolutely. I think he's in that conversation now, and I think we will be a lot more excited about Deshaun Watson and his future and the future of this league, and we will be looking at him in similar ways that we look at Patrick Mahomes, because he's put up some great numbers, but we don't live in that world. And Deshaun Watson has been great, but you can argue, or you can look at his stats and notice if you take out the plays where he was sacked, he's actually statistically, QBR-wise, better than Patrick Mahomes. Some of those sacks are his fault for holding on to the ball, but if you can keep him upright,
out the sacks.
I'm saying the sacks, it's a fact that their offensive line has been porous throughout the time he's been there. So I think the sacks matter, and some of them are his fault. But he's really good.
Take out the dunks against that team, they would have won.
It's entirely different.
All right, Dominique, you're sticking around with us.
Sure.
Thank you so much. We have more to come on First Take, so don't go anywhere. Antonio Brown tells the Patriots, if you have to pay me, then play me. You don't want to miss Stephen A. and Max's reactions to this.